Tuesday, July 10th, 2012, and we have been honored with the presence of U.S. Senate candidate for the Republican nomination, Marielena Stuart. Is that correct? Marielena Stuart. Ms. Stuart, you've had an opportunity to view another video interview that I did with one of your opponents. What I'd like to do is start the same way with you as I did with him. First, tell the voters something about you that they need to know. And second, I'm going to ask you to distinguish yourself and your candidacy from your opponents in this race.
Well, I have, Mr. Sinclair, for 10 months been stating through my speeches in this candidacy for the U.S. Senate that I am an authentic, conservative Republican candidate for the U.S. Senate. I am a citizen candidate. I have never held office before. This is the first time that I run for office. And this is important because what I am doing is fulfilling Ronald Reagan's dream of stepping forward as a citizen candidate and representing the people of Florida, in this case, the people of America, from the floor of the U.S. Senate. I did not come up the ranks of the GOP. My efforts have been done with my family, my husband, and our 2 young children. And these are efforts that now have been passionately supported by conservatives, by conservative Republicans, constitutionalists that truly want a change in Washington. So my candidacy is one that really emphasizes what a citizen can do with convictions and hard work. And I've come a long way since I started 10 months ago.
All right, I'm going to do the same thing with you as I did with Mr. Weldon. I'm going to throw out one of your opponent's names, and then I want you to tell me what is different from you as opposed to your opponent, what distinguishes you, what makes you the better choice to hold this U.S. Senate seat. And the first name I'm going to throw out is none other than Representative Connie Mack. What's the differences between you and Mr. Mack?
Well, Connie Mack is a career politician. Connie Mack, in fact, what is sad is that he has become a career politician that is not informed on the key issues that are destroying this country. Let me give you an example. In his district, in the area that is under his status right now as congressman, which is Southwest Florida, sustainable development has flourished. And sustainable development, which is Agenda 21, is pervasive and persistent in Southwest Florida, and very much so in his district. Yet, Mr. Mack spoke at a dinner in Sarasota in February of this year, and he said that he did not know what Agenda 21 is, and that he does not know what sustainable development is. Well, if you do not know what sustainable development is, then you are not qualified to be in Washington, D.C., because sustainable development is destroying the economy of this nation. It is socialism. It is the agenda for the 21st century that the United Nations has projected on the world, and very much here in America. It has been imposed on the American people through executive orders. Sustainable development is what drives the EPA and what drives entities like the EPA to basically choke the private sector. So there is a huge difference between Connie Mack and myself. I have been fighting against sustainable development with a public record in Southwest Florida, very much in the area where he is, where he works as a congressman. And this is something that the people of Florida need to pay attention to. Another thing about Connie Mack, he repeatedly voted in favor of human embryonic stem cell research and support with taxpayer dollars for human embryonic stem cell research. Well, if you are pro-life, you would never vote in support of human embryonic stem cell research. So Mr. Mack is completely uninformed about what pro-life means. And his position is truly an erosion of the meaning of pro-life. Mr. Mack appears to not consider voting on the floor of the U.S. Congress with consistency an important thing to do. He has missed over 40% of the vote. So if we are paying him to be in Washington, then it is his duty to be there, particularly during key votes. And the excuse that he's now campaigning for the U.S. Senate is not acceptable. He still has an obligation as a U.S. Congressman.
Okay. Distinguish yourself from candidate Colonel Mike McAllister.
Mike McAllister, here is a man who wrote a book in 2010. On page 7, he said that he is personally pro-life, but that he does not believe that the U.S. government should interfere on the private decisions of a woman. Now, that is not a pro-life position. That is a pro-choice position. Then on page 8, he stated that he's against oil drilling. That's because in 2010 he was trying to appease the environmentalists. Now, the book that he wrote was a book offering solutions for Florida. Well, if you want to offer solutions for Florida, the first thing you would do is you would address sustainable development in Agenda 21, which is pervasive and persistent in the state of Florida. There is not one single mention of Agenda 21 and sustainable development in his book, again published in 2010, which claims to offer solutions for Florida. This is a person who has never lifted a finger to help solve Florida's problems. He is now running for the U.S. Senate, but the truth is that there is no public record of him ever doing anything to help solve Florida's problems. I, on the other hand, have been fighting against Agenda 21 and sustainable development in Southwest Florida, specifically since August of 2008, testifying, writing about it, fighting against the public-private partnership that governs a town in Southwest Florida. This is a public record. This is a very, very intense battle that I have fought as a private citizen with a public record. Also, I have a public record of having opposed and prevailed in stopping a major bailout of a lab that wanted to locate to Florida at the tune of hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars. And this lab was involved in human embryonic stem cell research. As a pro-life woman, that was a very important battle, and I am very proud that I prevailed, because in prevailing, I was not only able to stand again in support of the unborn, but I was able to save Florida's taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars that would have gone to this non-profit genetic facility